So I'm going to keep it a little short because I know everyone's waiting for the break and coffee. Before I actually introduce myself, I want to say the previous presenter's material is one of the most interesting things I've seen in the recent times. So really, really good one. Um, so yeah, my name is Jasmeet, and by title or by profession, I own a product suite called Conversational Banking for HSBC's retail banking and wealth management system. Um, I have been with the organization for almost 6 years now, all across the globe, starting in the United States, where I introduced the concept of conversational banking when there was no application of artificial intelligence in it. Um, Moving to subsequently doing a lot of digital transformation stuff like online credit card account opening, online appointment booking systems, and so on and so forth. A couple of years ago, I moved to Hong Kong and was responsible for um, managing the online banking space for the bank in the city before moving to my current role, like I said, of owning a product suite that is based on conversational AI. So it's my team's responsibility to make sure that our customers have the right channel to have a conversation with us in, and when they choose to have that discussion with us, irrespective of whatever channel they choose, the right intelligence goes behind talking to them. Now, this intelligence can be um, uh, a human agent from a group of agents sitting in a contact center. It could be a relationship manager that is dedicated to that customer, or it could also be a bot. Okay. Um, like the previous speakers spoke about, there will come a time very soon where walking and talking humanoids will be the definition of artificial intelligence. Growing up, all of us, whenever we thought about artificial intelligence, even when it was not at a stage where it is today, uh, the mental image that came into our minds was something like this: a robot that's walking and talking amongst us and doing very human-like things. This is not too far in the future. We've already been seeing research labs and universities um, testing test robots and prototypes doing a lot of human-like and even more actions. Um, and and again, the previous two speakers also touched upon um, autonomous cars and connected cars. It won't take a lot of time, maybe a decade or two, where the the jobs of car brands that exist today will completely change. They will start looking at, they will shift their focuses from building cars, designing how the cars look, to designing and building experiences of a driver, who will not be driving the car, sitting in the car, um, and there will come time where the cars won't allow a human to drive it. There will come time where cities will not have traffic signals because cars will coordinate with each other by sharing data points like acceleration, speed, etc. Uh, all of this is game changing, right? All of this seems like something that we've looked at. I personally grew up watching a lot of sci-fi movies, and this is happening. It's not sci-fi anymore. It's going to happen in very, very near future. But none of this is ready for productionizing in the near future. None of this is productionized at a scale that you can see robots sitting in front of us or amongst us. You don't go out and there's no Hong Kong taxis that are running on smart cars technology. They're not autonomous. Um, I actually would trust the taxi drivers here a lot. Um, but so what is in fact, what is in fact the, uh, the application, one of the applications of artificial intelligence in its early stage, which is true and touches our lives on a daily basis, is something that is commonly known as conversational AI. uh, it is present. It is, we talk to bots, we talk to uh, a lot of through a lot of conversational interfaces, through different intelligence in front of a lot of brands that we interact with every day. So coming to my point, so this is what I chose as a topic today. When I was approached to talk about conversational AI, I requested if I could specifically talk about the irony how AI is actually humanizing our customer experience, and how is that doing that? Why do I say so? Because AI is empowering our brands and the companies that we interact with on a daily basis to have natural conversations with the customers, to have conversations that can be scaled beyond what a website or an app can have, and a conversation that is personalized and relevant to each and every one of us. So what is natural conversation? What is a natural way of interacting when it comes to humans, right? Me talking here, me standing here and talking to you in a natural conversational language using tools like a clicker, which pretty much doesn't work for me, and these slides is a natural way of conversation. But what if, just for the fun of it, instead of talking to you, instead of saying what I'm saying, I just put this slide on the board um, and stay silent. And I flip over to this and I stay silent. I flip over to this and I stay silent. I basically am asking you to find clues on all over my body to know what I'm talking to you about. There's probably a chit somewhere in my pocket. There's a piece of paper in the back of my pocket, and of course, if you need help, and if I wasn't able to communicate what I'm here for, there's my phone number tattooed on the bottom of my foot that you can always call me on. Feels weird, right? It's like funnily unnatural because that's not how we interact as human beings. We like having conversations. The way we are engineered is to talk to each other, not to have people navigate through us to know what's in our mind. And uh, what do you think websites are natural? Do you think um, uh, do you think a collection of pages on the internet that pretty much helps you interact with a company or an entity or a person is a natural way of doing it? Websites basically make you navigate through a sitemap where websites make you click a button, click a link, and go through a journey, a navigational journey, to either get information or to get the service that you're looking for from that brand. Is a mobile app natural? It's just a smaller version of website. It's just more conveniently accessible version that sits in your mobile phone, and in fact decentralizes the real estate on your digital phone where you can get information. On an average, on our phones, on an average, there's 80 apps that all of us use. Uh, Almost only 50% of them are actually used. So there's 50% usage rate from installation rate. So it's just bizarre the number of apps that sit on our phones to have a navigational experience. Or is sending a text natural? It's almost become rude to call someone today. It's almost become rude to actually pick up the phone and disturb someone while they're in their busy lives, so that they pick up the phone and say hello. This is a true story. My 12-year-old niece yelled at me the other day because I called her. She's like, what are you doing? Like, how old are you? And trust me, I'm not that old. The why texts are natural way of interacting with brands is because it gives you a best of both worlds, right? It gives you the convenience of not having to actually open your mouth and talk, um, and also use something that is digital, more accessible, more quick. So um, That's pretty much on why a natural experience makes more sense, right? When when the websites were created, right? So when digital transformation started, millions and millions of dollars were put into it, and it was at the center. Websites and apps were at the center of everyone's digital transformation. I'm not saying that for one particular company or person, even I did that. I was a part of digital transformation projects for years. Um, but when you start using websites and apps that, according to me, are mere tools to enhance discussions and conversations that are supposed to be had with organizations, when you use them as the primary method, um, then the whole concept miserably fails. Um, uh, to prove that, I just pulled out a chart that talks to the contribution of e-commerce, the sales that we've made as human beings across the world um, over the internet as comparison to all the sales that we've made overall from 2000, pretty much where the dot-com boom was, till now, we've only moved from 1% to 14-ish percent. Now, let that grasp in. For 2 decades, we've only come to a 14% contribution of selling products online. That gives you an idea of, uh, even though information is put at a scale through companies and through for a lot of reasons in front of people, it did not convert into sales. It did not convert into customers actually wanting to do what they went on to do that there. And and that another um, proof of that is that we're still in 2019, where I just mentioned that no one wants to pick up the phone and call. We're still getting approximately 160 billion phone calls to our call centers. So this, and the reason for this is that it's not natural. We've forced, as human beings who were in technology, a part of the digital transformation, a part of website designs back in the day. We, in a way, forced to design into other human beings that was not very natural in nature, that went against how we interact with each other. And the numbers are kind of clear here. So in around 20, this is going to be a lot of clicks in this slide. In around 2011, we all know, most of us use, or all of us use this app. The WeChat was launched. What WeChat did was completely flip around the experiences, the way experiences are delivered, led through conversations, and used many apps to actually support those conversations. On WeChat, uh, we all pretty much go back and forth from sending a text very easily to using an application to doing transactions with our bank, paying bills. In 2 years' time, guess what happened? China took over from US and became the world's leading e-commerce market in the world, and it still is. And in those 2 years, WeChat went from launch to 200 million users. And today, it boasts a billion users. And 90% of those billion users are either making a payment or are purchasing a product on there. A country with approximately 1.5, 1.6 billion people, a billion users. So it's safe to say that if you have a phone in China, you are an active user of WeChat, and you pay your bills, you purchase products, you look at information on the WeChat platform. And not just WeChat, there are all these platforms that we use across the world are boasting of billions of users actually interacting with each other. And these billions of users are actually sending 100 billion messages every single day. We collectively on this earth, all humans, are at every single point a day, we're sending 100 billion messages. Now let's compare. Now let's compare this number, or put it in front of the number of calls that we're getting to the call centers. We, in our day-to-day lives, we want to text each other. We want to communicate through messages, but we are made to also call the call centers to get services. Most of those phone calls generated, most of the experiences behind those phone calls were generated through digital. You went on a website, you picked up your phone, you opened an app, but you couldn't do what you wanted to. Or there was a service gap in what you expected from your the brand that you interacted with. And you just didn't figure it out. And then that contributed to one of the 162 billion phone calls that were generated into the contact centers. Um, so, yeah, so why conversational AI is very important. Why conversations are very important, because they're natural. Uh, and that's why we need to focus more on transitioning from um, the traditional methods of putting information at scale on websites to actually focusing on talking to our customers. Now, when I say talking to our customers, or when I say having a conversation with all our customers, it's very natural to ask, how can we do that? Like, it's weren't websites one of the primary reasons of websites being so famous was the ability to put content uh, at scale and let everyone consume it. And if they do have a question, then they can talk to us. So we put something called a digital fortress in front of the customers, and then let them break through it to actually reach and talk to us. So how is it scalable to have conversations with customers? So um, back in around 2013ish, when I was in the US, the only method the only call to action that we had on our website was phone number, which pretty much translated into a something we call as service concurrency of 1-to-1. That means one contact center agent who received the call could only talk to one customer at a time. It wasn't scalable. That was the reason that those digital fortresses were needed in the front end, because that weeded out a lot of those conversations that the companies couldn't have. Then, for about a about a couple of years of having those phone numbers on the websites, some of us realized, and well, one of them was me, that customers are on a digital channel. They need help right there and there. Let's not make them shift channels. Let's not make them go to their telephones or their cell phones and call us. Then we introduced the concept of web chat on our website and our mobile apps. That straight translated into the scalability of one-to-one concurrency to now 1-to-8. Now, one person very comfortably in a messaging setting can chat with 8 customers at the same time. Now, I'm fortunate to come back to the conversational space and introduce another variation in scalability. Now, if you lead with bots as your first point of contact when you're talking to your customers, your scalability or your concurrency pretty much goes to infinity, right? When I say infinity, there's service spaces and stuff, but you know what I mean. You can literally have conversations today in an infinite scalable way. So this is how you can actually start when the customer comes to a channel, when a customer sends you a text, you can solve a lot of their problems. You can have that initial conversation or even an end-to-end conversation through a bot that is actually talking to other customers at the same time as well. So that's how scalability is possible. You can always, and I'll talk about personalization in a bit, but you can always scale down from a bot-led experience to a chat agent-led experience to a phone call experience as and when needed. So you start with an infinity concurrency, and depending on what the customer needs at real time, you can scale down. So that was a bit about the scalability and how you can have conversations with the customers at the same time. There's another dimension to scalability when it comes to chatbots, right? In my mind, a bot that needs to talk to customers has only three jobs. One is listen. The other is interpret what it's listened to. And the third, once you know what the customer means or what the user requires, um, the only job left is to respond to them. This is more scalable by putting AI in front of customers while chatting with them or having a conversation with them, because you can do these things in parallel individually. Think about humans. Think about a contact center agent. Think about me, right? I can't do all these things at the same time. I'm listening, understanding, and then responding. Whereas when from a scalability standpoint, um, a bot basically can do all of these things in an asynchronous way constantly. It's like listening to someone, it's responding to someone else, it's interpreting someone else's the utterances. So um, when when I say listen, now there's a bot basically can be connected. It has the capability of being connected to systems to do two kinds of listening. One is explicit listening. When I say explicit listening, um, all of these channels pretty much have something called channel connectors that as a brand you can listen to all your customers conversations or all your customers utterances through the SDKs that are provided or APIs provided through these brands. So what does explicit listening mean? For example, if a customer has wants to pay a bill, customer comes and explicitly say, "I want to pay a bill," and that's what the bot's constantly listening to. There's there's a second dimension to listening is implicit listening. Now, before the customer says that they want to pay a bill, if the bots are connected to your backend systems, if a bot are constantly receiving information generated through the insights in the information management systems about the customers, the bot should already know. So it's a difference between knowing when the payment due date is up versus the customer actually saying that I need help uh, make a payment. So after listening, the second job that the bot needs to do is interpret. And without getting too much into technicalities, um, it's done through a machine learning model called natural language understanding model. And NLU is basically responsible to know what the customer intends to do, or what is once we implicitly or explicitly listen to uh, to something about the customer or from the customer, um, what does that actually mean? So it, once the NLU has actually interpreted the customer intent, now it's about responding or escalating to a human. So I did say there are three jobs, but what makes a bot more scalable, what makes a chatbot more scalable while having conversations with your customer is this processing layer, right? So at any given time, this processing layer can actually listen to all the conversations at the same time, make sure the NLU is processing and interpreting all the conversations, and at the same time, a dialogue manager is responding to all the customers whose intents have already been interpreted. So, and I'll talk to personalization in the next slide, but basically, this is how a bot can be scaled. So when I say artificial intelligence is humanizing the experience, it's not only helping brands have natural conversations, it's also helping brands have those natural conversations in a scalable way that is possible. I was reading this survey online a couple of days ago, and it was very interesting to me. Almost one of the surveys for retail consumers, almost 80% of the customers say that they're more likely to purchase a product if the brand introduces some personalization for them. If they think that their experience is personalized. Um, now think about all the apps and websites that you interact with today. Uh, think about all the one-size-fits-all uh, content that you see. A website, www.xyz.com, will basically have a content, give or take, same for me versus you. Right? Millions of dollars were sent, but the content itself is very one-size-fits-all. The only way, and the current AI application way of solving for this personalization that the customers are looking for is through conversational bots. When when a customer does talk to your bot through any of these channels, and the channels of choices, and we saw the number of messages customers are sending on a daily basis, um, the bot has the ability to now understand a lot of things about you based off of who you are, where you're from, what your relationship with the brand is. A bot can personalize the help that is needed for you. So for example, if if the customer's query is about uh, is can be solved by a simple one-line response. The customer is asked a frequently asked question. So that means the customer is looking for uh, an answer right away. Uh, the bot can simply pick a canned response and send it to the customer and ask, "How can I help you further?" Versus if it's a customer that we know in our backend system, so the insights that are being generated through the backend is a VIP customer. It's a for banks, for example, it's a extra high worth uh, net customer, right? Uh, we can the bot knows not to mess with this one because this is bringing a lot of dollars to the bank, right? This is a very important customer. Directly connect to a person who can have a relationship management one to one with the customer. Versus if it's a contact center query, to send it to one of the subject matter experts in the contact center. Or if the bot knows that there's another bot available, there's a bot to bot routing ability that is available, and through automated conversational AI, the customers can chat and get their queries resolved. So the point being that there are several ways, and these are only few ways in which conversational artificial intelligence helps us get that personalization that we're looking for. Help the 80% of the customers that today feel that they're not getting that personalization in the retail space. Um, before I leave you, I'll leave you with a thought, right? Uh, when lines and the humans we realize that there's an opportunity to uh, build products at the same time. We can build multiple things in an automated way in the same time. When that revolution ended and we went into the second industrial revolution, we did that in a more scientific way. We increased the scale of delivering products. Um, and then came the third industrial revolution, which is the digital revolution, where now we started taking our analog machines and converting them into digital. Um, and where we are right now is at the tail end of this digital revolution. We've done a lot of things in the past 6 to 7 decades since the time the computers have been present. Uh, Now it's almost the time we're at the cusp of this new revolution, and uh, no one has full details on what it's going to be, but everyone knows it's going to be centered. AI going to be is going to be at the center of it, and the language that will be spoken during this era, this age of AI, is going to be conversation.